Different's great, but being different for the sake of being different, I'm not a big fan of, right? If you just want to be different for the sake
technology
of it. But
increased, I would hide behind it.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes.
Because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Master Connector Show. I'm your co-host, Rob Genovesi, and we want to thank you for joining us today live on LinkedIn, as we do go live every single Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern time here on LinkedIn. And we do hope you're joining us live because, look, this is the Master Connector Show. We want you connecting with each other in the comments, connecting with our guests, connect with us. We know that connecting with people is the way to success, bar none. You can do it alone, but it's much harder. It takes much longer, and it's definitely not as much fun. And we got great people coming at you that we want you to meet. So mark your calendars every single week, every single Wednesday, 1 p.m. And look, if you can't make every live show, we get it. You're busy. You're building your thing. We want you to do that. But go to masterconnector.show. And if you got to catch a live show, and there's somebody that you need to see, go to masterconnector.show. Look at the roster of people we got coming up. We got amazing, amazing people coming in, sharing their skill sets, their experiences, their stories of how they overcame, how they created their success for themselves. And then you can ask the questions yourself that's been burning in your mind. How did they do that? You get the opportunity to do that. And I learned a long time ago, never leave a room with a question that has gone unasked and unanswered, because you never know. That could be the gap in the knowledge that you have that brings you to the next level. And so, look, my co-host and I, Steve Spiro, we go back 27 years, two former shy guys, two introverts who became connectors because we wanted to be able to do our own thing. We wanted to be able to take back our own lives, build what we wanted to do. I spent 25 plus years in corporate in handcuffs, wearing a mask I didn't even know I had on, till I realized I ripped it off. And then from there, it was just so much more fun building your own thing. But look, Steve, he's the master connector. So I want to bring him on because we want to get the show rolling. We got an amazing guest. So let's bring him on, Mr. Steve Spiro. What's up, Steve?
What's up, Robbie G? Yeah, I mean, and you took off the mask and put a new one on. You got that goatee going on there, Like, I love it though. It's your brand identity now with the cool glasses. It's awesome. Yeah. Appreciate you. That's the true mask. It's not really a mask. It's who you really are. It's your true, and which is what the show's about, right?
That's the secret, right? Be who you really are.
Yeah, exactly. So important. So. But anyway, what's going on, friends? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. And I am pumped and excited. This is our closing episode for the year. We'll be back again on the 7th of January. So, we hope you're tuning in every week. Obviously, we'll have a couple weeks where you can refresh. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But hey, I got a question for you. So what if the very challenges you're facing right now are shaping the strongest version of you? I've heard it said, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And you know what? A lot of these cliches we hear all the time, they're cliches, but they're also based on truth. And I believe it's very, very true here as well. Rising above life's challenges starts with recognizing that resilience is built, not born, but through the moments that are tested, that test us the most. And, I've had my set. I'm sure you have as well. Again, I never want this show to be about me or about Rob. I want it to be about you, but hopefully some of the things we speak about relate to you, right? I think a big one for me was bullied as a kid, but, I worked through it. And on the other side of that, double black belt, right? And, had challenges being learning disabled, dyslexic, and that created this crazy creative brain of mine that looked to problem solve creatively, and so therefore allowed me to do things differently, and forced me. I think it's a reason why I went to art school, but also got me to be one of the top performers in the sales world, because I was able to think out of the box, think creatively. But listen, we do know that resilience is strengthened each time you choose to keep going. And I've heard it said, one of my mentors said, hey, listen, if you don't quit, you win. And just got to keep going, knowing that, you know what, on the other side of your challenges is there's going to be something good that's going to come from it. How to Win Friends and Influence People is one of my favorite books, but another book is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And it talks about every adversity lies a seed of equal or greater benefit. And speaking of books, Rob and I have, a similar mentor that we shared at one point in our life. And, mentorship is so important, when you have somebody that you could turn to, and I've got a car mentor, if you will. Every time my car is going, I got to go see him later today. I have challenges, I go to my car mentor, right? Having someone to turn to when you're going through challenges is incredible because they offer perspective, things perhaps that you hadn't thought about. Maybe they look at it from a lens that you're not looking through themselves, right? That third-party perspective. We're also going to talk a little bit today about protecting your energy because I know that sometimes we can get overwhelmed, especially at this season of this year, and it depends on the season of your life. And I've learned, yes, it's important to say yes to things and look at opportunities, but at the same time, it's good to also maybe say no. And especially if it's not in line with your life's mission, your purpose, and your vision and your why. So we're going to talk about all about that and talk about, what is it going to be that catalyst for your change and for your purpose of your life and what's going to make the biggest impact. So appreciate you guys so much, but I appreciate my co-host, Rob, and Rob G. If you're ready, community, type in "let's go" because in the comments, we're going to have Rob G. bring on our guest. Appreciate you, Rob G.
All right, let's go. Alison Maloni is the owner of Allison May Communications, a nationally recognized media relations expert and anchor and contributor for a national network. She's the best-selling author of Breaking in the News, Build Buzz, and Rising Above, sharing powerful stories of women overcoming adversity. A sought-after keynote speaker and moderator, Alison is known for bridging the gap between brands and journalists with a deep understanding of what reporters truly need. A passionate advocate for digital media and a proud mom of 3, Alison brings authenticity, insight, and real-world wisdom to every conversation. Please welcome to the show, Alison Maloni. What's up, Alison?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Great to have you here.
Have you on. Yeah, for sure. Happy holidays to you. And it's great to be here with you. So we're pumped. So let's dive right into it, right? Rob in the intro talked a little bit about some of the challenges and the adversity that you've dealt with. But you've had resilience. And I think that's the key to anyone succeeding in anything is that stick-to-it, that resilience. So community, type in #resilience. And here's the question for you, Alison. Okay. What was a moment in your life when adversity didn't break you, but instead reshaped you?
That's a good question. I felt at the time as if I was broken. But again, when we're going through these tough times, we think that this is it and we don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So about 6 or 7 years ago, I was left with $10 to my bank account. 3 daughters. I was a single mom. I was divorced and about to be remarried. Things didn't work out, and I had put those things in front of my business. So I kind of let my business slide. I had really built it up, but I didn't know where my priorities were. And so I found myself on the floor crying, hiding from the kids, figuring out, how do I do this? I had lost some clients. I had no money to pay my bills, and I was in my 40s. And I thought, everything I've built, what have I done? How am I here being 40 years old with no money? My business almost crashed. My relationship ended, and I felt alone. And, I had a couple of days of the feel sorry for me. And I think everybody needs to have that time to go through that process. And I just started writing what I was thankful for. And at that time, when we're in dark times, it's hard to really hone in on what we're thankful for. And I literally would just, say, I'm thankful for my kids. I'm thankful it's sunny out. I'm thankful I'm alive. And I started thinking, what do I want to do with my life? Do I want to keep my business? Do I want to grow it? What do I want to do? And I just started pounding the pavement. I started working to get clients. I started deciding that my job and my role was to be out there in the media. And I was able to launch 3 or 4 shows on Newsmax. And my dream was always to be a network news anchor. I wanted to be that since I was 9, but I wasn't able to make it at that point. And I think it was the fact of, I'm not going to let anything slow me down. I'm going to achieve my goals and I'm going to be stronger and bigger than ever. And it was a huge process. But again, finding faith, finding your family, asking for help, and just taking it one day at a time.
There's so many things there that you blessed us with. But I got to say, did you say you wanted to be a news anchor at 9 years old?
I did. I would go home after school. Back then, we got the local newspaper. I would write my scripts from the newspaper. I would dress up in makeup and a suit jacket, and I would put on a newscast every single night. Funny story, when I would get in trouble, I was an only child, so I had no siblings to kind of buffer things for my parents. When I would get in trouble, my parents would say, "You can't watch the news tonight." I would watch the news every night. Talk about a dork, right?
Watch the news.
That is hysterical. I got to say, as the introvert, the last thing I wanted to be was a news anchor. I don't know, but that's amazing that you knew you wanted to do that and you accomplished it eventually. That's so cool.
I gotta ask, this is kind of like a loaded question that I don't really think has a great answer to it, but I have to ask it anyway, because I know there's people out there going, Alison is crazy successful. Like everything she's doing, she's winning at. How did you do it? And it's kind of loaded, right? Because it's not always how, it's the why. You had a big dream, but how did you go for the thing you wanted with that tenacity? From 9 years old, I mean.
Yeah, I honestly believe it was mindset. I think it was manifesting things, because I didn't know at that time when I was 9, that's exactly what I was doing. I was literally imagining that I was delivering the news. Like I believed I was going to get out of college and take over Katie Couric's job or Tom Brokaw's job. I thought that was going to happen. And as I quickly got my local news start, I realized this is not happening as fast as I want it to. But I do believe I really imagined that's what I was going to do. And, I put that off. I got out of the local news business, when I was 27, I think, because I wanted a normal life. I didn't want to stand out in the snow at 4 a.m. anymore. And, decided, okay, I'll go work for the corporate world. And then I had some children and started my business. But I started to ask for things. I started to ask people. For example, I was pitching a client to Newsmax. It turns out the news anchor's family's local from where I live. And I just put it out there. Hey, if you ever need anybody to come on and talk about communications, branding, marketing, let me know. And a week later, he reached out and he said, can you come on and talk about, I think it was Jeff Bezos's divorce and what is that going to do for his brand? And they kept having me on, and I kept saying yes at that time. And then all of a sudden they said, could you help launch a show? So here I was, broken months before, all of a sudden walking down the studio, going to anchor a national news show. So I don't really know how I did it, but I think I just always had it in the back of my mind that that's what I was going to do. It just took a while. It took longer than I thought it would.
Yeah, manifestation is a big part of what it sounds like the first answer. So a lot of things you talked about, especially in the first part before Rob asked the question, and one of the things is thankfulness and being blessed and appreciation. And I just got to say, number one, we appreciate you being on here, but we appreciate our community. And I just want to throw out here, Anna, who is a new friend. She says, hi, everyone from Shelton, Connecticut. So happy to be alive with you all. This is going to be incredible. Zoom share. Not Zoom per se, but I get you. Thanks in advance. And then she also said she's going to be a very strong woman in 2026. And I know you personally. I know we're working in a similar speaker group. I'm going to hold you to that, okay? Appreciate Russ Hedge being on here. And he says definitely have to stick with your God-given purpose. Good for you, good for your health, and good for life. I love that. Anna's contributing some more. With last week, she's taking a shower, talking to myself. Girl, no one's, wait, girl, your no's and claim that your yeses. Wow. Okay. I gotcha. Yeah. I'm dyslexic, so reading these things are hard to read. But anyway, and Monica, thanks for being on here. Monica, Monique, I think it's Monique Kelly. We appreciate you. I could completely rate this topic of resilience. Steve, I used to hate to elevate and paint it to purpose, power, and profits. My publisher released my first book. Congrats. And the same week as I'm wrapping up holidays and company accountable. Okay. That's no accident. God's plan. Nice. Appreciate you. And then my sister Eileen's on here with us, who has agreed she's coming with me, taking a trip to Houston to be live with me as I do a TEDx. So just appreciate you, sis. Love you. Anyway, let's get back to the show. Appreciate it. I just want to acknowledge some people. It's our last show of the year, so just I want to make some acknowledgments. So, and we wouldn't have this show if it wasn't for the support, Rob. I appreciate your support here. Our community is amazing and the amazing guests. But so I want to talk about support. So community, type in hashtag support. Why do so many people struggle to ask for help? And how could mentorship change the trajectory of someone's life?
Oh, that's for me. I'm sorry.
It is. Sorry.
You're on, Alison.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think when I was younger, I struggled to ask for help. I had this vision. It was the boss babe image. Maybe this was like 10, 15 years ago. I can do it all myself. I'm going to be successful. I'm a woman. I can do this. I don't need to ask for help. And then I realized, yeah, I do need to ask for help. Even little things. I'm not good at email blasts. I'm not good at graphic design. So I ask for help for somebody to help me with that. There's certain things that I struggle with that I ask for help, but mentorship is so important. And I tell when I speak to students or speak to people, business owners, I always tell them it does not matter how old you are. I think people think having a mentor is when you're in your 20s. No, you should have a mentor throughout your entire life. I have a mentor. When I was 9, I met a local news anchor, and she's the one that helped me pick classes in college. I got an internship with her. I just recently spoke to her class. She's a professor at a college, and I've kept in touch with her for over 20 years. I have a mentor there. I have a mentor from another TV station that I can bounce ideas off of. I think that we need to ask for help because that doesn't make us weak. That makes us stronger because we realize the things that we don't know. And it doesn't make us stupid. I think we always think, well, if I ask that, we're going to appear, ignorant, or what if they think I don't know what I'm talking about? No, we all have questions, and we have to find the right people to help us in our business as well as in our personal life.
I love it. Love it.
I came across a LinkedIn post by a friend of mine, actually, and he's in the financial services industry, and it's a family business. His parents had started it 40 years ago. And he is in his 30s. And the post was him calling up his parents for some advice. He's got 2 kids. And I thought, there's no parent out there or anybody who's accomplished anything who could be a mentor would ever be like, leave me alone. I don't want to answer your stupid questions, So that's a great it's a great honor, and it's a great feeling to be asked. And I said, I hope my kids continue to ask me, because we don't want to be intrusive in people's lives, but we've got knowledge, right, Alison? We have knowledge that we can share with people that's valuable to them.
Absolutely. And we all have different strengths. And, if somebody called me, and I always tell myself this when I'm thinking, well, I don't know if I should ask for help, even if it comes to my kids. If I'm stuck somewhere, I ask my friend, can you pick up my daughter? And I feel bad. But then I think, wait a minute, if she asked me to do that, absolutely, I would do it in a heartbeat. And that's what we have to just retrain our brain to think like that nobody's going to be bothered. People will actually be honored and be grateful that they are able to help you out, giving advice or whatever, the case may be.
I love that. Yeah. Of this show, I was talking about before, my original co-host was a gentleman named, Cameron Toth, and he was very influential, a mentor, if you will, in kind of getting this show set up and kind of the direction this show is going. And Rob has picked up the ball, and I think is helping taking this show to the next level. But asking for support is so important. I just want to acknowledge a few people real quick, and then we want to get to more from you, Alison. But Jerica, who's a new friend, and incredibly excited to have her on here. She's from Memphis, just checking in. And then it looks like this might be someone in your network, Donald McEwen, but he says, I'm at a point in my life where I somehow catch myself thinking I'm too old to change, but I'm here listening because a part of me is still hopes there's more ahead. Just being honest and showing up today feels like a step. Absolutely. And we're glad you're here. And a lot to read here. I'll let you guys go in and you read this yourself, but Anna, thank you for your contribution. I want to keep the ball rolling here. So appreciate everyone on here. But here's the question for you. And I think a big part of today, especially for the HR world, we talk about boundaries. There's a lot of stuff going on. there. So we're going to talk about boundaries a little bit, maybe not in that from that perspective, but boundaries in terms of success and we talked a little bit about saying yes to or no to, right? So I want to hear your perspective. You need to type in hashtag boundaries. So Allison, I'll make sure I see your name before I ask the question. How did learning to say no transform both your personal energy and your professional success?
Saying no is so liberating. And I always was afraid to do it because I've always been a yes person, especially when you start a business. You say yes to everything. I remember, clients would come and their budget would be barely nothing, but I would say yes. Okay. You always justify why you should say yes. But again, I think age, as you get older, I believe you get more wisdom. And the older I've gotten, I've realized that I need to say no. For example, I had somebody and they had a lot of money. They had a lot of money that they wanted to give me for me to handle their PR. But my gut just said, you know what, this client or potential client, they're going to be a challenge and you can just tell. And so 5-10 years ago, I would have said yes, and I would have dealt with it. But then I decided, recently that I'm not going to take them on. I know what will happen. I'm going to say no because they'll be texting me at 11 at night. And I've had that. And so saying no is the most beneficial thing I think I've done for my business because I put my energy into things that matter. And I've taken away a lot of that negative energy because in your gut, right? That maybe you should say no, or you're not sure. If you're not sure, I say no, forget about it. Plus my kids, my daughter is a sophomore in college. And I think I realized last year when she went away, how quickly things go. And I said, I can't keep traveling as much as I was. I need to be home with my daughters. You don't get a do-over with your kids. And so for me, it's my business and my kids. That is my priority, is being home with them. And last night I was supposed to be in New York. I said no. And I'm so glad I did because my daughter ended up getting hurt at a wrestling match. She's okay. But I was there to take her to the hospital and be with her. Had I been in New York, I don't know what I would have done.
I know Rob wants to say something real quick, but let me just throw something in here, Rob, real quick. So for some of us that are, the S personalities and the DISC profile, people pleasers, it's really hard to say no because you don't want to disappoint people. So I'll give you a couple of tips that I've learned. Number one, say, let me get back to you. And I got to check my schedule. That's a good way to kind of put things off. Or say, I'd love to, but I have some commitments that day, but let me see if I can rearrange it, which basically takes the pressure off. So just not having to say straight no, because I know that can be hard for some people. But anyway, Rob, I'd love to hear what you wanted to share.
No, thanks, Steve. That's actually really valuable because people don't know how to say no, and they know they should. They know they want to. But aside from that, Allison, I got to ask you this because I hear this time and time again. I've been through it myself. I spent over 25 years in corporate. It was going to the boss's office, whatever they asked, I would say, you got it. And I would walk out of the office and be like, okay, how the hell am I going to do this? And I would figure it out. When I went into business for myself, it was the same thing. Somebody walked into the store at the time, back in the 90s, I had a storefront. They'd be like, can you do this? I'd be like, yes, we can do that. And then I go, oh, let's figure out how to do that. So it was yes to everything. And then even later on, when, I went into the branding business, it was yes to every client. Do we have to go through the yes stage before we can get to the no stage?
I think so, because I think we have to learn from experience, and the more yeses we say, we'll fall into those, okay, that wasn't a good decision, or I'm not going to do that again. So it's going through, right? When you learn to ride a bike, most likely you're going to fall. And so I think we do have to go through that initial saying yes to everything. And there are things that I say yes to that it's kind of same thing. I say to myself, I don't really know how to do that, but I'll figure it out. And it makes sense for me, but we always figure it out. But yes.
One thing I've learned also through life is you can also say yes, but put such a large price to it that either A, they'll say no anyway, or B, you have enough money, you could hire somebody to do it for you. Right?
I've done that.
Yeah.
That's a big contractor trick, by the way. Why is the contract so expensive? Why? Because they're so busy, and they figure if you're going to pay the money, we'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to throw in here, Monique is contributing again. He says, I'm with you, Allison. Saying no or not right now. That's a good one too, by the way. Helps us how we start. We want to and need to, for those people we prioritize, including ourselves, self-care. Hashtag self-care. Very good. Real good. Appreciate that. All right, so let's keep the ball rolling here. I mean, you are obviously, I know, and I mentioned it, being a woman, a strong woman. You're a woman of strength. There's no doubt about it. And I think that's so important to be strong in today's world, especially if we have so many things pulling at us. Strength is important. So I want to type in hashtag strength. And here's the question for you, Alison. What does real strength look like when you're navigating challenges behind the scenes?
I think real strength is asking for help, going back to that, asking that we can't do it ourselves. And, I was talking to my husband about the show today and what we were talking about. And, if you read my book, my chapter's in there and it ends with, I hope, you look at my resume, wow, she's got it all and she's strong and she's this. There's seasons in our life that we may look like we have it all together, but there's a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes. And that's kind of going through right now. The last few months have been rough. So I can't come on here and say, this is what you do. And this is how you have this perfect life and everything will work out. It does work out. But even when everything looks good and you think you have it all figured out, you'll get hit with a curveball. And then you kind of go back to that space of, okay, now what? How do I get myself out of this? What do I do? Who can help me? How do I bounce back?
Yeah. Yeah, I heard it said that if you want to give God a good laugh, make a plan, right? I mean, you're going to get thrown those curveballs, right? I just want to acknowledge, speaking of acknowledgement, Yolanda Chin, who's an incredible community member here. She says setting boundaries signals that your time and expertise are valuable. When your boundaries are clear, you don't make decisions based on guilt or pressure. You evaluate opportunities based on whether they're actually fit your business goals. I like that. Appreciate you big time. Yolanda, great having you on a show every week. We love you. Appreciate you. And I just want to, we're getting to the end of the show. So I want to kind of close up. I know one of the vision or the mission of our show is to be the light, uplift, inspire, and encourage, and really help other people. It's a huge, huge piece of my mission. It's why I'm speaking on stage, why I'm doing a TEDx, and why we do what we do here. And I know Rob shares it as well. So community, type in hashtag light. And here's the closing question as we start to wind down here. How does sharing your story help others realize they're not alone in their struggles?
Because everyone has a different story, but there's always similar things that are weaved into those stories. And I know when I've spoken out about having an eating disorder when I was younger, a lot of people came to me and said, oh my gosh, I'm going through that as well. Talking about how I lack self-confidence. You're relatable. Again, we look on LinkedIn, we look on social media and think everyone has it together. And those who share their stories and are authentic and real, those are the ones that you make those connections with, and you become, professional or personal friends, and you find strength in their stories. How did they get through this? What did they do? And I think that's so valuable. We've got to be real. We can't be fake.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Well, we appreciate you, Alison. I know you have something you want to bless our community with. Would you please tell them a little bit about what you'd like to offer them?
Yeah, so I have the ultimate testimonial playbook for business owners. It gives you everything you need to know on how to get positive testimonials and reviews for your business. Everybody needs them. For example, if you have a restaurant, what do? You Google, what are their reviews? You want positive reviews. So it's normally, I think it's $19.97 on my website. But if you message me on LinkedIn, I can send you that. And then you can go from there and learn how to get reviews and ask for them.
There you go. And best way for a community to reach you?
Just LinkedIn right here, or Instagram, Alison Maloni, or you can go to my website, Alison May Communications.
We really appreciate you. Thank you so much for blessing our community.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you again. Amazing. So, Robbie G.
Yeah. So, I forgot to do this at the beginning, everybody. So listen, this is huge. And if you have huge aspirations, some people want to author a book. Some people want to speak on stages. Well, here's two guys. Like I said, we're two former shy guys, two introverts who probably wouldn't have done much of anything except for the dream we had. Steve's about to experience one of those dreams he had, and he's about to become a TEDx speaker. He's going to be down in Houston, Texas, TEDx's third Ward Talk stage down there, January 10th, 2026. If you're in the area, or even if you're going to be doing some traveling, you're looking for a reason to go down to the great state of Texas, go down to Houston, January 10th, catch Steve on there. There's going to be, I think, a couple of dozen speakers down there for the price of the ticket. So Steve's going to be one of many, but one of the greats, soon to be one of the best TEDx talks ever, because I know what Steve has overcome. I'll put the link in the comments for that, but don't miss that.
I appreciate you, sir. Big time. You're the man. And listen, next week, Don't miss it next week. Next episode, which we won't be till January 7th. But don't miss it as we kick off a new year, uncovering your unique, authentic self. We were talking about that at the opening of the show, being your authentic self with Candace Morgan. It's going to be a great show. If you want to learn more about the upcoming episodes, masterconnector.show. If you'd like to learn how to be a sponsor of an episode or be a guest on our show, pretty tight requirements there, but go there. And listen, I know Rob had some kind words for me. I am so impressed. Rob has just come out with his book, Rob G's #1 release, Don't Fear the Brand, reveals how he 4 times his revenue while overcoming paralyzing fear. Get the inside story and exact strategy by clicking the link that's provided you here now to get it for 99 cents for a limited time. Don't miss it, guys. Let's support Rob G for sure. He is incredible, man, person, just amazing. So, and he got a great story. I read his book. It's incredible. Anyway, I want to close with this story. Liz Murray grew up homeless in New York City, surrounded by addiction, instability, and loss. Yet she chose to rise instead of surrender. Through relentless resilience, mentorship, and belief in herself, she earned a scholarship to Harvard and transformed her story into a message of hope for millions. Let's let Liz's journey remind us that our circumstances do not define our future. Let's choose today to rise up and become a beacon of light or hope for others who are still finding their way so we can ultimately shine our light. God bless. Great. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. God bless. We'll see you in a few weeks.
And you start to hear some of their challenges. And yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.